so much of what we do that makes our days feel exhausting is around talking about negative things, like with everybody. It's like something happened. And so it's reaction. Instead of choosing where we're going to be and who we're going to be and how we're going to handle things, we're letting other people dictate our day and how we feel. And then we're coming home exhausted. And if that's the way you're operating and we don't choose to operate differently, there's no job on earth you're not going to walk away feeling like that, right? Because there's no family you're going to walk away from not feeling like that. There's no anything. If you are living your life needing people around you to act a certain way or be a certain way for you to be okay. And that's what that comes down to. Instead, you want to be strong in who you are. You want to set your day up in the mornings, that you want to have a good day, that you want things to flow well. And you're not going to let anybody get in the way of that. I've had moments where, first of all, in order to get to this place, I've had plenty of moments where I didn't get back on track. And I could see the results, because that's how what I try to teach is things that you can apply and see what worked or it didn't, right? I remember when I first really started trying to get in a better space in the mornings and being consistent about that. Be great until I walked in the door at work. And, within a few minutes, somebody's saying something, you're irritated or you're stressed, or whether it's from financial or somebody's bad mood, and then you start caring more about how you feel, and you don't want somebody else's bad mood to take you off track. So you start deciding you're going to figure that out. And then once you start deciding you're going to figure that out, you may walk into your office and take a few deep breaths. You may walk back outside if you just need a minute before, especially if you're in a more of a leadership role, people are always coming at you and it's not easy to get a quiet moment. Step back outside for a second, in the hall, in the bathroom, wherever you can get a little bit of space to say, okay, I'm not going down that path. I don't know why that person is in that place, but I want to be in a good place. And, speak to yourself, speak to universal energy, God, whomever, and just say, I know everything is working out for me. I know I get to choose to have a beautiful day, and that's the choice I'm making. And once you walk back in, when you stay in that space, you can start to recognize, for whatever reason, that person has a lot going on. And so it's hard, especially if this is somebody you encounter on a regular basis, hard for them to be in a good space. You can have compassion for them. When you have compassion for them, that's the first thing that helps, because you're not immediately aggravated and spewing something back, and then you've got something going back and forth. When you can have compassion for them, but not feed into it, just because they're having a bad moment or aggravated, you do not have to participate in a conversation when they're in that space. Even if you have to say to them, I'm not sure what's going on with you today. When you are in a good space, I'd be happy to have a conversation about whatever you would like to talk about, but not right now. And when you're able to say it compassionately, that person knows it's compassionately, but firmly, it's not an option to have a conversation right now while they want to either yell or slam things around or whatever space they're in that really doesn't feel good. And the same thing is true if somebody is in any mood that is not conducive to a helpful conversation, honestly. And the more you start to occupy that space, actually, you will find that people around you won't come to you in that space. When they know, it just won't happen around you anymore. So you start to transform your space, because you're choosing the space you want to occupy, and you're making sure that you stay in it. Being kind. You cannot say to that person, how dare you talk to me that way, and have a good response. Off they go, off you go. And now there's a lot of negative stuff out there that needs to be cleaned up. Maybe even has to have a third party come in and help clean it up. And that's what you don't want. Or not say anything at all, but just go through day. You're slamming stuff around too, because they are, you can't function as well. Communication won't happen. The workday will have lots of mishaps because you've got somebody you're aggravated at not communicating with that's on your team. And so a quiet the thing is, when you are able to just say, I'll be happy to talk with you when you're not in that space, or sometimes that person and you just go do something else, they are going to need you. And so they know by the fact that you are not speaking to them when they're in that mood, that they have to come to you in a different space. And they will. And if what they've got going on is personal and they come to you in a different space, you may never need to have a conversation with them. Over time, if you are consistent, because the reason it happened in the first place is you've responded and reacted in the past, right? But if you are consistent in this new behavior, it will stop happening. It may happen to other people because you're not changing that person. You're changing how they interact with you because you've now gently let them know where you're at. And that's how you start changing your days. You start changing your environment, because if you're not the head boss, but even if you are sometimes dependent on what's going on, you can't just go fire somebody, right? Because they come to work a lot in that space. But how do you make your space better? You set limits. I'll be happy to talk to you when you're in a different space. I can see that you're not in a good space right now. Or sometimes just silently going and doing something else. If they come to you and they're still in that, you may have to say. But again, you do get to choose. You do get to choose how do you interact with people. You do get to choose if you respond or don't respond. Even with a client or customer, you can still say, I'm sorry, but you'll need to stop yelling so that we can have a conversation. If you're not capable of that right now, we may have to come back and have that conversation in a little bit. Or, you may need to get a supervisor, right? Someone they're going to listen to. And then you just say that specifically. If you don't work in a supportive environment, then the first goal is to get yourself into a positive space and keep yourself there. Because if you are in a negative space in your environment and you feel like they're not supportive, and you go look for another job while you're aggravated, irritated, not liking your job, you're going to attract another job just like that. That's how you're going to show up, and that's what you're going to get. And then you're going to think the whole world's against you and not realize that you actually have more control than you realize. And so then you find ways to get yourself in the best space possible. Look around for the things you can appreciate even in the difficult people. What thing can I focus on that brings about something, what positive thing can I focus on? It can be super small, because your goal is to transform the way you feel about them one step at a time, whether that's, they have good hair, they dress attractively, but when you're around them, focus on whatever positive things you can come up with. Make a list of their positive attributes in the morning. When you're in your morning space, don't focus on if they're making you feel negative, you don't want to go there, but you do want to, it's called, actually, Abraham Hicks says, a book of positive aspects. And you can do it about a town. You can do it about your house. You can do it about a person, anything so there's two things about it. You have to be careful, because you're not wanting to occupy a negative space. So if you go to try to do it on somebody and you don't feel good, then just find one thing that feels better. Focus on that one thing feels better. Don't, and then do a book of positive aspects, a page of positive aspects on somebody that you feel really good about, somebody that makes you feel amazing. You may have to do that first, and then think of the one thing that then try to come up with a positive aspect in the challenging person, right? Do it again and again. Make yourself feel as good as possible. Look for one positive aspect, because you can't find the positive aspect when you're feeling negative. And so that's the reason you have to find your way to feeling really good and then do that one thing.